So in today's video, I'm going to be making graphic designs better with some small minor changes. And we are going to be looking at Nike, FedEx, Microsoft, and IBM in today's video. It's really great being able to show how a design looks, but it's even more impressive if they can actually experience the design itself, as well as understand how it feels and how it behaves. Learn more about Framer later in today's video. So here is our first design, which is a kind of an old school Nike design, a blast from the past, so to speak. In today's video, I'm making the least amount of changes possible just to show how effective they can be. But what would you do to this design and how would you change it to maybe solve a problem or just to make it more effective as a graphic design? Now you might be thinking, well, the typography needs changing, but how would you change the typography and what style would you go with? You might be thinking that, oh, Tom's just going to slap on a sans serif font. Well, in this instance, you'd be wrong in thinking that, because I've gone ahead and used a slab serif typeface instead of a sans serif. So what is my logic here and how does this actually work? Well, we can see that the design is more traditional and it's more old school, and so the designer here has used a serif font. Now I've decided to keep things more traditional, more retro, but I've gone with a slab serif as I think it does keep in with the older style, but it's kind of more trendy and more sporty, especially with the italics going on here. If we can notice the lines of the model, we have some movement moving across from left to right, and that's backed up with the Nike logo right here. So that's why I chose italics and not just a static straight up kind of typeface for my design. Also, we have some hierarchy in size and also thickness, which I do think works well and better than this here. Second up today, we have FedEx, which is usually really great when it comes to branding and just getting themselves out there in a graphic design way. There are a few things niggling at me when I look at this design, and I'm sure many of you can see what they are as well. And if many people can see them and recognize them, then that means there is a common problem that is widely accepted by people who do view this design. And before we go on, I do understand that a lot of the time when designers work on a branding project, they'll be given a color scheme, a set of fonts to use, and they cannot stray away from that. I understand that, and I've had that happen to myself many times, but for the purposes of this video, just showing what works and what does not work, I'm not going to limit myself to one specific font or whatever. We're just demonstrating how a design can look better and how it can be more efficient to the end user. So the first problem with this design was the orange text below the main line of text, and this was very difficult to read on a blue background. Yes, it stands out, but it's almost illegible because the colors are too clashy. It doesn't work well together. It's almost, it almost hurts the eyes to look at. And so I did end up going with a more kind of darker color that I sampled from the mountains behind. And also the font that's used on the Score It With was very, very crude, and I really don't like this font. So I've gone with a more standard, easier to read, and more approachable sans serif font. Also, lastly, notice how there's movement going up this way and out. If we have the text aligned to the right, the movement is kind of suggestive coming this way, which I feel doesn't work, and it's one of those subtle changes, but in the end I think it makes a big impact. As you can see, I've aligned things to the left and we continue that movement that's starting here. Oh yeah, and for those of you who have got really good eyes out there, I missed out the website down here, by accident of course. And next up we have Microsoft, which again are usually fairly good when it comes to branding, but this design is, in particular, I have a few issues with. Some things to take note of are that Microsoft have usually been going with this square kind of layout on a lot of their branding and also of course their logo. But what would you change about this design and what doesn't work when you're glancing at it as a graphic designer? Well, I've made quite a few changes, but for me, the main issue was that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 main text areas. I understand that the design is broken up into these squares and sections. When you're trying to extract information from a design, it's just too much. I think the concept is great, but I think it's been taken too far, if that makes sense. So on my design, I have one section here with these typographic areas, and then down here I have this section that leads nicely onto this one here. This would be classified as proximity and just balancing things out. Also, for some contrast and just making things more subtle, I've reduced the impactness of the 1 and also the 100%, just to make things a little more accessible and easier on the eyes. But yeah, I just felt this one was very busy and just kind of disjointed. And I know that was the concept and the idea, but I just think it's been taken too far. Next up we have IBM, and they really dropped the ball on this one. I don't understand what happened here. And as you can see, I can't see, and you probably can't read either what's going on here, and it just looks wrong. I don't know how a designer could end up making something like this. So of course, the first thing I did was went ahead and enlarged the text, and also this bit over here. One of the key and crucial aspects of designing anything is making sure the text is legible so you can deliver the message and the information successfully. I also wanted to give this word smoother a smooth touch and blend it into the background a little bit more, just so it does come across as being smoother. Even though it's not striking in contrast with color, it does make itself stand out from the rest of the text, and it just adds more depth to a design. You might be thinking, why not put the IBM and this slogan down in the bottom left? But if you do that, you will realize the design quickly becomes unbalanced with too much weight going on the left and absolutely nothing on the right. These lines also direct attention outward, and so it needs to have something over here for these lines to make sense. If you want to get involved and if you want to try and do some before and after design work, there's a link down below of a design that you can work on, and just send it to the email address down below as well. I will choose 3 designs to show in a later video, probably later this month, and so I look forward to seeing what you guys can come up with. So interactive prototyping is the best way to communicate your app or your website idea. The sponsor of today's video, Framer, is a no-code, free-to-use tool making it easy for anyone to become a prototyper. You can insert pre-built interactive components in seconds, sliders that actually slide, and inputs that can be filled, as well as buttons that can actually be clicked. Or of course, you can create your own, complete with every state and variation you need. And that's all completely code-free thanks to the new Smart Components release. Sign up to Framer today at framer.com/Satori. And that link is going to be down in the description box below. And if you want to see more content, just click a video on screen. Until next time, design your future today. Peace.